With 40 fine sailors we left our dear England. We sailed through the seas to find fortune unseen. But all of the while we longed for old England, her hills and her valleys and meadows so green.
But the hills could fall and the valleys flood, the meadows burn to black. For England's gold is our lassie's dear, and that is why we come back.
The Spaniards have wealth with their endless armada, their hulls fully laden with silver and gold, with jewelry and marbles and statues and idols, bejeweled with emeralds and riches untold.
But gold and jewels are not worn in the arms, and silver turns to black. For England's gold is our lassie's dear, and that is why we come back.
In Jamaica we drank rum as dark as the night sky, find brandies in Lisbon and wines throughout Spain. Though we saw the insides of 1,000 port taverns, we longed to taste England's ales once again.
But the fields of barley could wither away and leave us dry as sack. For England's gold is our lassie's dear, and that is why we come back.
For ages we sailed, our memories faded, of old England's beauty the land belonged. Forgotten were meadows, the valleys so deep, and the hills and the rivers, the visions were gone.
But smiles so warm we had not forgot, and eyes that shine through black. For England's gold is our lassie's dear, and that is why we come back. But the hills could fall and the valleys flood, the meadows burn to black. For England's gold is our lassie's dear, and that is why we come back.
You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello, and welcome to Season 20, Episode 8 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Stork, and that is indeed why we come back.
Exactly.
If you missed the first song, you should go check it out. England's Gold, one of Stu's best.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it has it's great sentiment. That is why we come back. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Couple things I need to update you on. For those of you who go to twitch.com/HappyJacksRPG Live, you will find that page is dead. We were finally able to get Happy Jacks RPG. We're trying to unify all of our usernames or all of our URLs. We were finally able to get it, but it killed Happy Jacks RPG Live. So
if you have Happy Jack's RPG Live bookmarked like I do,
don't. The safest thing to do in all cases is to bookmark happyjacks.org/Twitch.
there you go.
Because if it changes or something happens, that will always repoint that where it's going. It's not set right now, but I'll change that. I swear I will. And of course, if you want to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're on the social medias. We're on Tweeters, happyjacksrpg. We're on Instagram, happyjacksrpg. We're on Twitch, happyjacksrpg. See how it works. And also, if you want to watch the stream live, you go to happyjacks.org/live, and we're sounding squawky. Are we sounding squawky?
We might be over.
Are we over modulation? Am I over modulating?
Over modulating.
Let me see if I can.
It happens. It seems that those listening live, because I've done this before too, it seems like it overblows or blows.
Well, we're down to it's at minus 2.5 dB. We should be good now.
Yeah, no, minus 2.5 dB. Yeah.
I just drunk.
Right.
Harumph. You watch your ass. So yeah, you guys let me know if it's okay. Also, this Sunday we'll be playing Mode of Sin. I think it's 38, and then the next Sunday we'll be playing Mode of Sin again, 39.
Son has interrupted us. Hold on.
Hold on. Yes, quickly.
Allie was.
Okay, I'm in the middle of a show.
Alone, but she let Dahlia constantly bite me, and she wouldn't do anything.
Tell her not to do that, and if she does it again, tell her don't talk to her. All right. Hi.
You want to talk to her now?
No, not yet. Just tell her I said that.
That was like when the interviewer was like in the middle of that big thing about Europe and stuff, and his kids run in and they're dancing around, and the mother has to run in and pull them back out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Child is interrupted.
So this Sunday we're playing Moat, and the next Sunday we're playing Moat. Dave's out of town, and I need Dave to help me co-GM Dead Rain.
Right.
So Dead Rain is going to come on the following week. So Dead Rain will happen 2 weeks from this Sunday.
Of course it is. It would be 2 weeks. But that means that Moat of Sin will be back to back for the next
two Moats. Double Moat.
Double Moat for the next 2 weeks.
We're not sure. After that, it may be 2 back-to-backs of Dead Rain just to get everything back on schedule.
Right.
I'm not sure yet. We haven't decided.
Your child has locked himself out.
Oh, I'm so sad.
I know.
You'll unlock the door for him.
Oh, okay.
It could be important.
It could be.
I'll mute your mic. Go ahead.
All right, hold on.
So we've got that going. Oh, by the way, if you haven't checked out Dead Rain, we just recorded the second session of it this last Sunday, and we are going to post it this coming week. So, and that's, by the way, is sponsored by Palladium Books at palladiumbooks.com. Thank you. I would like to thank them for sponsoring our show. And here he comes again. Yes, Zachary. This has to be really quick. What?
Allie turned off the TV because I was using it.
Okay. All right. You may turn the TV back on. Tell her I won't talk to her.
I'll tell you what. I can read an email if you want to go in.
If you want to start the first email, you can totally do that.
I will start the first email because it's only the two of us.
Playing with time. Oh, I wrote a response to him there.
All right. You want to finish your preamble and then?
Let's wait and see what happens. I think I can read it. Okay. I'll try reading it. All right.
Well, here's the thing. It's only the two of us. What happened? Where is everybody today?
No one else signed up.
All right. Yeah.
We're doing a show.
Mm-hmm.
Say hi to 200 people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Leave your brother alone, please. I don't care. I know.
Steve.
I don't want to hear.
Dahlia bit him because he was kicking us.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a nice game.
I will.
Yes.
Well, we could bring the kids in. They want to be here. We could have. They would have 4 people. No.
She does.
No. Sorry, sweetness. I love you. Playing with time and narration from Julian from Paris.
Bye.
Bye. Héros d'entendre un autre jour. I think that was my reply to him.
The French barely like us as it is, and that's not going to help.
D'entendre. Héros d'entendre un autre
You
jour.
have Google Translate?
I did.
And
I'm trying to remember how it's pronounced.
Right.
Salute le héros Jacques et Jacqueline.
I know the Jacques and Jacqueline, the female ending of Cyprus, right? Yeah.
I've been listening to the show for a real long time, and I've even wrote an email or two over the years. Today I'm writing again about some things I'd like to try in my next D&D 5e game set in Dark Sun. These days, I've been mostly playing indie games, and when friends I haven't played with for a long time ask me to run a D&D game for them, I couldn't resist but to bring some of the things I'd learned from the hippie game side of gaming. I'd like to have your thoughts on one of them, playing with time and narration in the game. I hope I'll be clear enough for you to understand, as English is not my first language.
Well, French isn't ours, and I think that your French is better than our English, and I think English is mostly based on French and German and Saxon.
French is a mutt.
You'll be fine.
French is a mutt language. Or English is a mutt language. French is not. French is not a mutt language. It's romance.
Romance.
Let's get to the point. I'm thinking of using techniques like flash forward and flash back in the game. The campaign is set in Athos, the world of Dark Sun campaign setting. Players will begin with a character just before the fall of Tyr. They will have to choose their sides in the conflicts that will shake the region and so on. As I know they love to explore myths and legends, old ruins and such in every campaign we've played together, they will soon come across the ruins of a city burned in the sand. Buried in the sand, sorry. At that point, we will make a second team of characters from the time the city was still in its golden age. Then we will play scenes in the past and scenes in the present, switching characters. I think I'll give them control over this. Say they visit an oasis in the present time, but the writings on the wall of the cave are too old to read. They can decide to switch to their past characters to go to the same location and try getting access to the cave. What would you want to do as a player? Be able to decide when we switch time periods, or let the GM decide? Keep up the good work. You're on your 20th season. My own podcast will begin its 4th in September. Congratulations. And seasons in podcasting. I can only hope that we last as long as you and be half as good as you are. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Julian from Paris, France. P.S. When I first started listening to Happy Jacks RPG podcast, craft beer was still in its infancy in France. But now we have pretty good IPAs over here. Beware, California. Just as you've learned winemaking, we have learned to craft beer.
Yes.
That's fantastic. I wish people could ship beer here. That would be awesome. But it's one of those things that's difficult to ship.
At least in America, yes.
Yes.
We have entire federal
I'm going
laws
to turn your mic back
based on that. Oh, what a great idea. Or not, maybe.
He put his mic on. I forgot to.
Maybe you should have had me muted. No, it's only because yeah. Right.
Well, I know. Sorry. We're all right here.
Everything's fine. We're fine. How are you?
So I'm thinking, one of the things he mentions is then they're doing this stuff, and then they're going to have a flashback, and then make the characters. I'd make the characters beforehand. I'd have a character generation session and let them know ahead of time, hey, we're running the game in 2 eras. There's an earlier era and a later era. Make characters for both of them. As far as when to switch,
there's a couple of cool mechanics you can do.
I think the coolest thing for me, if I were playing, the coolest thing would be we're gonna enter a hidden tomb. So okay, you crack through, open the door, and you open to enter the tomb. Now we're gonna switch to the other characters.
And scene.
And now it's the characters from the ancient past, and now they have to whatever it was that they did when they went into the same place, because that's going to inform the description the GM is going to give when the players in the current era come to it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I do. I totally do. To my mind, there's a couple of cool mechanics you can do. You can take advantage of. That's one. Another one is a limited amount of time that they can do it. They have like a gem that they can throw on the ground, and they can only go a certain amount of times back to the past to do stuff.
Well, it's not the characters that can go back to the past. The players are playing 2 sets of characters.
I understand, but there's only like a certain amount of time, and that adds some tension. The other thing is maybe put it on a timer. They have like a gem, but it runs out of power, and they're able to at that point transition back, because he talks about they want to be able to access and decode stuff, and at that point they may want to go back to the past to find out what the past is, and then come back to the future.
I think we're
sort of.
Well, no, I'm wondering now. Are they talking about they're going to have access to those characters' memories?
That's how I read this.
The impression I got was that these are just people in the past, and what happens in history, what those characters do in history, is going to inform what's happening now. But there's no link between the characters.
Right here it says, say they visit an oasis in the present time, but the writings on the wall of the cave are too old to read. They can decide to switch to their past characters and go to the same location and try getting access to the cave.
Right.
Which makes it sound like on will they can then go back to the past.
Well, I think he's just saying as players they can decide when they're going to switch timelines or when they're going to switch eras.
Yeah, but he's also saying that they can get valuable information from them that then informs the characters in the current. That one right there is. I'll read it again. Say they visit an oasis in the present time, but the writings on the wall of the cave are too old to read. They can decide to switch to their past characters and go to the same location and try to get access to the cave.
I guess my question is, those past characters, what are they going to do?
And
after they read the
Right.
things, which presumably is 1,000 years earlier or something, and so it's not as worn out, so they can read it better.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's in a language that isn't dead yet.
right.
Do they then translate that into a book, and the players can go try to
Well,
find this
that's
book?
and they're in like
You see what I'm saying? Or
Yeah,
do
yeah.
they just know
No.
what happened? I'm
That's
kind of assuming the former.
I was reading it as
Right. That we would need to know, because that's good. I mean, either way, it could be fun.
Right.
It could
Right.
be fun either way.
Now, if it is the latter, it might be fun to have it on a timer where they can only go for, say, an hour. Right? They have
Right.
an hour to go back, gather information, and come back again. And maybe that adds a little bit of tension. The mechanic of going back and forth, I'm not sure. That's kind of up to you about how magic works in
would
your
have
world,
to-
how gates work in your world, how time works in your world.
If it's
that's up to
magical,
you.
it may just be two separate timelines, not two separate timelines.
Yes.
but two separate sets of characters. Because if it is what you're talking about, then you're going to start to run into problems with Bill and Tedisms.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to make sure that we put the keys over
Right,
there.
right.
But they were already there, so we must have already done it. So we don't need to go back and do it.
We gotta learn to play music, man. No, you're right. You're totally right.
So I don't know.
You're going to create paradoxes for yourself.
Right. But I mean, one of the things that he could do, and this is something that Bill had. This happened slightly differently, but Bill played in a Song of Ice and Fire game, where everyone made characters, and then the GM handed out pre-gens for villagers, and he sort of foreshadowed the bad guys of this campaign by having those villagers get attacked by a bunch of people invaded the village and slaughtered almost everyone there. Mm-hmm. I stole that same idea when I ran in the original Eldemy game before we started recording them.
Okay.
Where I gave everyone NPCs, and then the evil mage came into town, and so the players could experience almost like a movie when here's the good guys sitting around in the tavern, blah 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 blah. All of a sudden, cut, and here's a dark figure walking into a town alone with ominous music in the background, killing people left and right.
You've actually done this a couple of times. I
have.
actually wanted to talk to you about this because you've had experience with this. You did it with the vampire game. There's a time travel moment where people made new characters and came back, but the stuff
true.
they did informs it. You did it in a con game you and Bill ran together where everybody was playing. They thought they were showing up to play heroes, but they
played sidekicks.
They ended up playing sidekicks,
Right.
which isn't quite the same as time travel, but it is a complete pulling the rug out from underneath the characters
Right.
kind of thing.
You don't want to pull the rug out, but if they're
Right.
playing here's what I'm thinking. If he had let's say, okay, they come to a ruined city. Why is the city ruined? What happened to the city? Or as they're approaching this ruined city, he hands out some real weak NPCs, and it's 100 years earlier or 50 years earlier, and a band of marauders come in and start slaughtering them, and they have to try to fight, and maybe one of them survived and was
Right.
able to document what he did, or something like that they can find. Maybe one of them scrawled something, the name of the bad guy who came and attacked them on the wall.
Right, and then they all wake up, or they flash back to present. And they're like, "Oh, hey, wait."
Right.
There's a lot of ways to handle it. I'm not, and you're right. The information isn't all here in front of us. I made one assumption, you made another,
Right.
just from this paragraph. As to how to handle it, how to like, do you want to let the PCs just go back and forth willy-nilly between time when they need clues?
I would leave it up to the GM, or the players could maybe suggest when, and role play a scene that took place in the past to see how that informs the future. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when we played the Microscope, when you go through the eras, and it's like, okay, here are the characters of this era. How does this very critical moment in history pan out? Because that's going to inform what happens later on.
And I think that's probably what he's going for. I think, but it's hard to tell. But how would you do that in a? I mean, how would you go back to those moments when you need to? Just like all right. So let's say that you need information. I go back into time. I go back in time.
See,
I give myself information and come back again.
They're not time. I don't. They're not. This.
I know.
This is
I know.
not time travel. I don't think
isn't.
This is time travel.
It isn't. But if you give it up to the characters, they're going to take advantage of it. That's the word I'm looking for.
Maybe they might. Yeah.
They might stretch it.
Meta game.
Yeah, that's it. Because really, you're basically giving them a huge metagame element and moment. And despite
it
themselves,
could be very tempting. Yes.
Despite themselves, even the best of players are gonna.
That's why I
break
think
your game with
if
this.
I was going to run something where this is going to happen regularly, it's going to be okay. The characters are about to come to a place of historical significance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened here. Everyone, get out your other character sheets. We're going to determine what historically significant event happened right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have context for it. Your other characters don't really have context for it, so maybe it's not possible to metagame.
Right.
We run that scene. Okay, then back to your present day characters. You walk in. This is what you've noticed. These are the changes that have happened because as a result of the scene we just role played from the past.
And to be fair, that's kind of what's happening in the Mode of Sin game. There's a lot of stuff that happened with that little one-shot game that you had that you're mining for details and stuff is coming to fruition.
Yes,
and that's cool. But if they, I mean, okay, let's take that as let's set that up as an example. All right, so everybody's playing their characters. Would you give them a chance to go back to those other characters at any given moment?
I don't think I would.
How would they make it work?
I don't think I would. I think as the GM, it's at that moment where the history of the scene or the history of the location they're going or the background of the NPC they're about to meet might be shaped by those other characters. Do you see what I'm saying?
I
think
totally
that's
do.
how I
It's
would.
been now locked in. It's now locked in time. You can't go back to that.
Right.
Is that?
Well, yeah. Well, but before the GM narrates anything about, let's say they're going to go meet an NPC.
Mm-hmm.
Before the GM introduces this NPC, he decides maybe this NPC knew the historical NPCs.
Okay. All right.
Or had some sort of encounter with them. What was that encounter like? Let's find out right now.
Right now.
That's going to shape the personality and the outlook,
and the events. Yeah.
and
everything.
the outlook of this
Everything.
new NPC.
Right.
It's something I don't think I would do a lot. I wouldn't do it regularly. But I mean, you could literally. I mean, it'd be kind of funny to have like a group of NPCs who like work together well, and they're maybe some moral people or whatever. But the historical guys are just total murder hobos.
Or just it's a different era and there's a different time.
And it's like
no problems. Yeah.
I don't help adventures because the last time I helped adventures, they beat me up and pooped on my chest, or
or there were Persians and there were 300 of us and we were stuck here and we had to hold the pass. Yeah. We don't trust foreigners. So I think it's a cool idea. I think that the idea. Don't fall in love with this idea because I have a feeling that the metagaming backlash is going to be awful. You need to be really, really careful because you're basically
going to depend on the players, but
it does.
It's going to be an awfully tempting thing.
And
to
I'm
do.
not saying that you're giving your players the power to time travel, but you kind of are. Because you're allowing them to go back and affect things in the past that will then, or do things in the past that will then affect what's happening to the players in the future. So you have to be really careful.
And if those characters are separated, if they aren't linked somehow, the players also are going to have the added burden of having to not metagame the stuff that the historic characters did for the modern day characters.
And if they keep bopping back and forth, they're going to get really confused.
And it may be hard, that could be hard
know.
for them to do.
Yeah,
but I could see using it in certain situations. Maybe there was a great conflict and there's two nations that freaking hate each other now.
Right.
What were the events that caused this? Why does this family detest the other family in the other?
I've seen it in video games where you play a character from the past and you're wandering around his skin or whatever. And used correctly, it can be a great tool for the GM because now your players are giving you content that you can now mine for your game.
Right.
But used or overused or not used judiciously, they're gonna ruin your game. The metagaming backlash is that's not quite the word I'm looking for. It's the metagame like when you cast a spell and you get a
backlash. I would call it a backlash.
Yeah, the metagame backlash.
A backfire, maybe.
That's not quite the word I was looking for. But
a fumble.
It'll come to me. No,
an oops.
Oops. The metagame oops. It may not be worth it.
I don't know. Pedo con premio, if you want to know that in Spanish.
The metagame skid mark might not be worth it. I could see more going wrong with this than right. But Stu's used it correctly a couple of times, and it's used judiciously. You only did the one shot with the vampire game.
Yeah.
And would you do another?
Maybe. It'd be kind of cool. I'm actually now I'm kind of thinking maybe the last episode of Moat. Maybe I'll have all of the players play mortals who get attacked by one of the PCs or a couple of them. That'd be kind of an interesting little twist right at the very beginning.
Twist right at the end there. Yeah.
Just a little reminder that you are monsters.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it before then. That'd be kind of a fun thing.
Maybe we'll do it to ourselves.
Yeah, might. Yeah. So thank you, Julien, for the email.
It's a really interesting thing. I actually want to hear a bit more about this, a few more details, because he and I came to completely different conclusions, and maybe we can give you a bit more of specific advice if we knew a bit more specifics. There's a lot of specifics in it.
Always love hearing from someone from the birthplace of
Descartes.
Okay, I was going to say
critical thinking, wine,
a lot,
women,
a lot,
song, romance, French kissing.
Oh, I would the
French fry. I'm going to read.
In some ways, maybe like not the cradle of Western culture, but certainly a very critical part of Western culture. France, it is.
Yeah,
a lot of important stuff happens in France. Before
Jean-Paul Sartre, Descartes, Delacroix, what?
Wine. Oh, there's been wine forever, but they make good wine. You know, actually, the Spanish make good wine too.
Yeah, so does.
I had a fantastic.
So does California.
Yeah, California. It's not like the Australian wine.
among the fighting wines. Actually, Australia makes some killer wines these days.
There was something else I wanted to mention. I don't remember what it was now.
Well, I'm going to start reading, and when you remember, you can just interrupt me. A breakdown of Mouse Guard.
Mouse Guard.
Hello, fellow podcasters.
That's from James from the 1D4 podcast.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. It's James from the 1D4 podcast. Hello, fellow podcasters. I've been on an AP kick, actual play kick, with several podcasts, including yours. Uh-oh. He's judgy. He's judging us.
Is he?
Yeah. He's listened to several actual plays, including ours.
Oh, that's fine.
So now I'm getting back to catching up on the regular shows. I just finished season 19, episode 17.
Hold on. Mighty Buana says the home of freedom fries and freedom kissing.
Right. I knew I was stepping into it at that point.
And without French fries, we wouldn't have poutine.
He's Russian, right?
Poutine.
I haven't played the main version. Yeah, I appreciate the straight line. Thank you for that. Thank you for.
I just wiped.
Never mind.
Okay. Oh, don't worry about it. I told you should have moved.
All right, it's up. I gotta start over again. In which Gina was on, and you guys were talking about Burning Wheel. Honestly, I haven't played the main version of Burning Wheel, but I have ran Mouse Guard, the second edition version, about 3 times now. I ran it once for my convention back in May called ID4Con. He's a little
1D4
promotion. All right, don't correct me. 1D4Con, it's a little self-promotion. And I have released 2 actual plays on 1D4Cast AP feed. Mouse Guard is really easy to grok once you understand what is going on. The problem is that the system is very front-heavy, meaning that there are a lot of rules that you have to know right up front to make the game work. Yeah. Also, the concepts it uses are very different from a D&D approach, which is even more daunting for some veteran players. This is going to be a long email, so take a drink now. This game has 2 phases, player phase and GM phase. The GM phase is when you are in conflict, whether fighting, foraging, or debating against other. Debating? I guess it, yeah. Debating against other animals, the seasonal weather, or the terrain. The player turn is when you are at the various settlements and is used to allow characters to recover from conditions gained from conflicts, find various mice around the towns to gain information, find and acquire items/supplies, or do anything of that sort. During the player turn, each PC has 1 free check to spend. However, additional checks can be gained during the GM turn by using your traits against yourself. Example, you have the short trait. Use it against yourself by making it harder for you to attack the owl that you are currently in conflict with.
Bless you.
The GM phase for this game is very different from the normal game. The GM presents a conflict, such as an owl or a snake attack, a debate between the PCs and some townsfolk, the weather, making a journey more difficult, etc. Some conflicts are added as twists for failing skill tests, such as a failed scout roll leading to the group's snake's nest or something similar. Once presented, the PCs figure out the best mouse to take the lead of the conflict, either the one with the best traits for it, or the one that caused the conflict to happen. Yeah, that's just vindictive. You started this, you handle it.
That's the way it should be.
Right? The GM and the players discuss what the stakes are, such as if the snake wins, he eats a mouse, or if the players win, they chase the snake away, etc. Both sides then roll dice and set up their dispositions. The conflict is over when one side's disposition is lowered to 0. Each round consists of 3 actions, as mentioned by Stork. The GM chooses his 3 first in secret, and then the players determine which 3 PCs will act around and which actions they will then perform. The GM and PCs compare their actions and resolve them either as an independent test or versus test, depending on the actions. Whew. The 4 actions are attack, remove opponent's disposition, feint, nullifies the defendant, maneuver, used to give opponents disadvantages by removing dice, and giving your group advantages by adding dice to future rolls, and defend, regain lost disposition. Got all that?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes. I've read.
I know.
I've read some of Burning Wheel.
And I bought Mouse Guard, and I was going to run it for my kids, so I ran through. I read it and did the whole character gen. Yeah. I'll get into that in a minute. And depending on the conflict type, different skills are used. In a fight against an animal, attacks use the fighter or hunter skills. A negotiating attack will use the haggler skill. And in a journey, the attack will be represented by using the pathfinder skill. The group is encouraged to help it. So basically, a journey is you're attacking it with your pathfinder skill.
Sure.
The group is encouraged to help each other by offering skills and knowledge known as wishes along the same narrative as how a player is helping. There isn't a limit to the help that can be received, but if the test fails, all participants share in the failure unless they used wishes to offer advice. Characters have special things that they can use called fate points, not the same as fate core or persona points. Fate points can be used to make 6s explode, persona points can be used to tap the mouse's nature, and that number of dice in his action dice pool. Consequences are imposed if the action isn't in line with the mouse's nature to hide, escape, climb, or forage. After the round, if both sides have the disposition points, another round is taken. If one side is out of disposition, then they lose the conflict and the other side gets what they want. However, depending on how much they lower the winner's disposition, they can compromise and add conditions such as tired, injured, sick, angry, or hungry, or break, lose certain weapons, equipment used in the conflict. Other conflicts can even be brought in as a twist of events as well, such as bad weather or other predatory animals. The GM and the players talk it out to find the right solution for the narrative. Yeah, I know, that is a lot. And that is the system in a nutshell. There is more to it, but those are the basics. If you like APs, you can listen to the ones I posted on the 1D forecast, or check out another podcast called Mouse Guardians, which is a longer Mouse Guard actual play campaign. I have learned that one of the players at the con, who was relatively new to role-playing, got her husband to buy it for her after she had such a good time. That made me feel really good. Anyway, I'm really enjoying your APs and regular shows. Catch you guys later. Sorry for the long email. Thanks for reading it. I hope it helped to understand and spark some interest in Mouse Guard and moved it to the top of my favorite role-playing game list. James, the 1D4 cast. Here's my problem I had with Mouse Guard. Is the rules never went away. You spend a lot of time adjudicating rules and not very much time playing your character. There's a lot of, well, I do this, I do that, and there's a thing for this and a modifier for that, and then I do this, and the rules are, it's even worse than Fate. They never fade away. They're always in front of you.
It's the same sort of thing they say about Fate and also about Powered by the Apocalypse games, and I think there's a learning curve.
Of course.
See, the thing is, when I learned GURPS, read through the book, my reading retention is low. Anyone who watches any of our APs and knows how much, or knew how much of the Vampire 20 book I've actually read, which is an enormous amount of it, knows that my reading retention isn't very good. But
to be fair, that book is not very well organized, but
it's not well organized, but I have probably read almost the whole thing by now.
a couple of times.
Maybe. Yeah, to try to remember rules. But when we played GURPS, we started, I read combat, we kind of ran combat, and then I went back and looked through it again and went, oh, hey, there's this thing, we missed a rule here. There's something else that we should be doing. So then from that session on, we would remember to do that thing. And then, a few sessions later, something else would come up, we'd go through, we'd find it and go, okay, and then, but it was a learning process to play the game. But you could still play the game without having learned the entirety of the rules. Mm-hmm. Because whether it was by design or not, GURPS doesn't break if you're not using all of the rules. A lot of games kind of do. And
don't sugarcoat it. They do. They absolutely break down. If you don't follow everything to the letter, you are not playing the game as written, and it's not fair.
And Savage Worlds, for one. There's all kinds of things. Yeah. If you're not following the combat rules, especially like ranged combat exactly what you're supposed to, suddenly you're like, whoa, dude, ranged combat is crazy powerful compared to everything else. It is if you don't keep track of things like cover and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's a lot of games that you have to apply the rules in their entirety. One of the roadblocks, I think, especially for people with old brains like us, is with Mouse Guard, with Fate, Powered by the Apocalypse. It's a very different type of way of role playing.
It is,
and because of that, and because of the fact that I think we're kind of used to games where you can sort of incrementalize your knowledge of the game as you're playing.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't do that with these other games. It's like, okay, when you're playing Powered by the Apocalypse games, you play the game this way. When people say certain words or certain phrases come up, they're activating certain.
Yes.
What do they call? They have a name for them. I can't remember what they call
them. Depending on whether it's a shift or a.
No, that's Fate.
You're powered by the. Okay. Well,
moves.
Yes.
It's like, oh, well, you're activating a move. There's specific rules for this move. So so as a GM, you kind of always have to keep this different way of thinking about role-playing games in your head while you're playing it. You see what I'm saying?
I do. I also think that's kind of an excuse, and you're kind of pussyfooting around the fact that.
Well, there are thousands and thousands of people, maybe tens of tens, who enjoy playing all of these games.
Yes. So
when it becomes second nature,
yes,
it's not going to be a problem.
Yes, and I think that was basically what he was trying to say in the very front, which is it's very front loaded. It's a lot on the GM.
Exactly.
Right. And if you have a GM who has grokked all those rules, figured it all out, it probably makes it easier for the players. But I watched an AP or two of Mouse Guard, and the rules never go away. If this is a game for people that love to meander through rules and tactics and crunch, it's not really for people that the way I like to play, which is sort of much more open ended. And like, I want to try this, I want to do that. This game seems very, very well. You have to do it according to this and follow this ladder.
And it's built that way, and that's stated in the book. Because if it's not run that way, it's not going to work right.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, then the presentation's a whole other thing. Yeah. The burning wheel presentation. Yeah. You guys are all idiots if you don't play a game this way.
I didn't realize I was buying a Bible.
Right.
When I bought.
But even the Mouse Guard game, it's very GM heavy. There's
a lot of pressure on the GM in that game.
Totally. I get that. But even if the GM gets all your rules, it's still. Once something happens, there's a lot for everybody to do. And I remember watching an actual play, there was about a 45-minute sort of rules adjudication going on that was about as exciting to watch as paint dry.
Right.
I'm like, so...
But that's going to go faster.
When you hit something...
The more you play, it's going to go faster.
I'm not sure if it does. Because every mouse has a point that they have to... Well, I'm going to help you with this, and I'm going to give you that, and then, all right. But all it is an owl attack.
It's going to happen faster.
It can... if
With more experience.
and there's bookkeeping involved, so everybody has to make sure they get
Right.
It was not my cup of tea. I get it if you really like having your action happen with a great set of rules, and once you set up all those rules, then you roll your dice and you find out what happens. Because basically you've set a construct.
Resolution.
Right. You've set up a construct. There's basically you've constructed an algorithm, and you roll your dice, and everything clicks into that algorithm. And like, oh, everything fell into place, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this. Oh, wonderful! But that's what it is. You just spent an hour and a half setting up a machine. Then you roll your dice, and that plugs in your randomizers, and then everything falls into place.
Mythico 2 said, just play Call of Cthulhu. The system fades away there. It's a gamist game, but it sits in the background. And Call of Cthulhu is a very traditional role-playing game.
Right.
You have your stats, you have your skills, it's percentile-based. It's a simple mechanic, and it's a matter of the GM to determine when you need to make a roll to do something. And when
I
you
like
don't
my
need to.
randomizers to be random. I like, Traveler is also great. It's just 2 dice. I'm like, I don't know if you can do that or not. Roll me 2 dice and let's see what happens. And
Right.
then your randomizer hits the table, and you're like, you succeeded. Yes, you absolutely can open up that door. Yes, you absolutely can hack the computer. That's all I really want. I just want that randomizer, and we move on.
Right.
I don't want to sit around and take that randomizer with your randomizer, and you helping me with this, and then we go through that. We set up another thing. We set up a whole formula. Then we roll our dice. We plug in the numbers. Yes, you failed.
Speaking of randomizers putting pressure on GMs,
Yeah.
the L5R RPG beta test was finally released today.
What do you think?
I barely looked at it, but I did look at. I first went to the dice mechanics because I wanted to know, and they've taken the best of both worlds.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask, because L5R has a lot of dice, right? Which makes it you have to do some math. We have to add, basically, kind of and work stuff out.
Roll and keep. You roll a pool of dice, and you keep the highest generally.
But now they've
It's
added
still roll and keep.
cryptic figures.
Yes, they have. They've. If you like the FFG Star Wars game, and you like L5R, you are gonna love the new L5R.
What if you don't?
Well, then you have 4th edition L5R. But
is that a dead branch, though? Are they supporting that anymore?
who cares?
Stuck with that?
Yeah, they made so much stuff for 4th edition. A ton of stuff for 4th edition.
I don't need my support. I don't need them. They can. No. I'm going to come up with my own stories. I'm going to make my own world.
Exactly.
I don't need their support. Fuck them.
But when you're doing your basic skill rolls, you have ring dice and skill dice. I don't remember which is which. There's D6s and D12s. One of them is the ring die, and one of them is the skill die. So you take a number of, I skimmed it, but I just went through and got the gist of it. You will take a number of ring dice and a number of skill dice and roll them, and you will keep a certain number depending on what chicken scratch shows up on the dice, right?
Okay.
So not I want to say chicken scratch because that sounds like I'm bashing on the Japanese language. What chicken entrails?
No, that's Celtic. That's all Celtic. No, it's not Japanese.
Because it's like a circle and there's a squiggle and there's different symbols.
I get it.
And I'm like, now the only kindness, because I think someone realized, hey, there's no way for anyone to play this game because the dice don't exist yet.
Right.
There is a dice app available for Android and for iPhone. It's like $5. You have to pay for it right now, even though you're playing the beta. Or whatever.
And they're making money on both ends. Here's what bothers me. It's like everybody has a bag full of dice, hundreds of dice, and they have to now sell you proprietary dice.
Those are shitty dice. You need our good dice.
You need these dice so that you can play our game now.
The ring is a D6 and skill is a D12.
Yeah, it still doesn't.
And they all have the chicken entrails on them, and you have to.
I'm not buying that. I'm pissed.
I looked at it. The nice thing is, there's character generation rules there already. It's not like, here's the rules, here's some pre-gens, here's some adventures to run so we can test the mechanics. They gave you pretty much a whole game right there in it.
And I'm going to get ass booked. I'm glad they lubed it first.
Right.
So you're saying, so at least you got,
you're only getting ass fucked for $5.
At least you get a complimentary lube with it.
You're only getting ass fucked for $5. Because you can't buy the dice. Even if you wanted to.
Yeah, right. Why? Okay, just hypothetically speaking, why do you think they're making this a proprietary dice thing? Were they in trouble with the rolling key?
To sell them.
To sell the dice.
Of course they are.
Okay, so
Of course they are.
they're making money on their money, and then they even have a dice roll.
They could have tweaked the mechanic to say, On a D12, you need a 5 or higher to succeed.
Was the mechanic,
and if it's an 11 or higher, this extra thing happens.
Was the mechanic so broken that they needed to fix it?
Oh yeah! It was so terrible. I mean, it's just totally unplayable.
Therein lies my problem. Everything was fine.
They kept. One of the things I like about Roll and Keep, at least for me, someone who's pretty math challenged, Roll and Keep is very inscrutable to me. It's very difficult for me to look at. It is
right.
Is Roll 10 Keep 3 better than Roll 6 Keep 5 or Keep 4? I have no idea. I don't know which is better. So I'll never like min-max a character because I have no idea.
Right.
I know more is better. Right. But is more keep better than more roll?
Depends on what you're playing. Depends on what you're working against.
But I mean, it depends. I just don't. I don't understand, and I don't want to understand how the dice distribution affects between roll and keep.
Even when I do understand it doesn't affect me. I'm like, all right, so that's a probability of 2d6. I'm still have to roll these 2d6. I don't care that there's a book with 6 pages of charts for the probabilities. I still have to roll these dice.
But
it doesn't matter.
But it might inform how you make your character.
No, it's going to inform how I roll the dice.
No, but it might if you know that a +3 is better than a +2, and you can take the +3, you're going to take the +3, right?
Because more is better.
But is it better to have more roll keep dice?
Okay, here's
the. You know what I'm saying? That's
okay. So you're justifying the fact that they're making these.
No, I'm not. That's roll and keep. That's the old system.
This is a business standpoint, is what I'm saying.
No,
these guys are basically absolutely making money on both ends of this. They're selling you dice that you don't need. Well, you will need if you want to play their new game.
Sure.
And they're selling you a new game that wasn't broken. They've made a new game now that broke the old game. And we're going to convince you how bad the old game was to sell you the new game.
We don't know if it's broken. We don't know. We don't know if they broke it. Here's the thing. I've not read through the dice mechanics. I'm a little worried because there's more than one symbol that shows up. It's not like success or failure on these dice, right?
Yeah.
There are other symbols, and I'm sure those other symbols are narrative cues for the GM to come up with shit off the top of his head.
Can I just write that down? Narrative cues? That's really awesome. That's a great turn of phrase. Go ahead.
That the GM suddenly has to, you made a perception roll. You made your perception roll. But some horrible tragedy has to happen. Oh, gosh, I don't know.
Now what do I do?
What horrible tragedy is going to happen when I ask you to...
have to work even harder.
And it's like, if you're playing a total freewheeling where the GM has nothing planned or is not expected to have anything planned, and it's just a total 100% improv, great. That's fine.
Right.
But if you actually want to do something and have something planned, but now you have to come up with some tragedy because some guy
fucked up his roll,
or made his roll to see something in something that's barely consequential, and now suddenly a horrible tragedy has to happen. And as a result of it, it's like,
so off the cuff you come up with something, and now you're like, oh no, I've just flummoxed my story.
And you know and if it's something like that happens, you know it's going to derail whatever it was you were planning, and maybe the players were right along there with you, so you weren't railroading. You came up with something interesting, and then all of a sudden this thing comes out of left field because you have to now say, oh well,
storked it.
Yeah, you rolled a despair on your shoe tying skill, so your arm is broken. I don't know. But I mean, I'll read through it, and I will at least look at it with an eye toward using it when we run L5R. But I'm going to read through the dice mechanics and make sure I understand what they're doing.
I don't want to open up with hate. I really don't, because I really liked L5R. I really like what they do. I think they have the best of intentions. I just smell 4E, and I really hope that they don't do a 4E to themselves. That's all I'm saying. I really want them to succeed. I really want it to be good because I do like L5R. I really like playing it.
An enormous amount of it looks very similar.
Okay.
It looks like what they did is they just got rid of the D10s and they've replaced them with their own proprietary dice so they can sell them. And I mean,
if you guys are out there and you're listening,
They're not.
Be really careful. I really liked L5R. Don't break it too far. Don't. I mean, I get it. I get it. It's new. It's exciting. You want to change it.
All I can do is
not broken though.
All I can say right now is, as a GM, if I decide to run it in the beta, I reserve the right to ignore any crazy ass shit on a roll.
Right.
I'm not doing it
because you did the Star Wars thing, and you were like, I saw it happen. You were like rolled, and you're like, this is a lot of work. I don't know what else happened. Somebody else tell me what happened because I'm getting a headache.
It's like pulling shit out of your ass fatigue.
Yeah, it is. That should be on a T-shirt. It's not helpful. At some point, it's just tiring.
So Flying Jackalope says that John Wick is going to release Key Tai, which is a 7th C L5R, which is what L5R was thinking.
Right. I think it might actually be out. Somebody has posted stuff about that, I think, on our forums.
It says he is releasing. I don't know if it's
I
out
think
yet.
it's in release. Yeah, it's dropping, I think, even as we speak. Somebody posted
it's dropping like his latest single.
I could be wrong. It's dropping like my testicles. But, I could be wrong, but I could see some stuff. And John Wick is a local guy. We actually have connections with John Wick. Yeah. I met him. He's a bitter man, so I love him. I think he's got. I think it's out. I
don't know if I've met a game designer who's not grumpy.
Right? Right? It's a cruel world.
That I've met in person. No.
Dave Kazay.
Dave Kazay's not grumpy. And there's the guy I interviewed. I got to put that interview up from Gen Con. I can't remember his name.
Well, then I can't help you. I don't know.
But he was not grumpy. He was actually very nice. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know. If John Wick drops before then, maybe we'll look at that one too.
Maybe.
But that can't be set in Rokugan.
No.
I'm sure that IP went to FFG with...
It doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to play our own game. You can call it...
I'm going to call it Rokugan.
Kakuran.
I want to call
I mean, seriously, this is your world. Do whatever you want, or it's our world. Do whatever we want. I'm not beholden to your canon. That's the other thing. People are like beholden to the fluff books. I'm like, I'm not beholden to your damn fluff book. I'll take the Githyanki and I'm going to use them however I want. I don't need, I'm not going to. Well, actually, in the D&D world, they would have been. No, this is my world. I'm using that character. Anyway, I think that we sometimes get too caught up in all of the fluff, all of the actual full-on books, and we're not having fun playing a game that we, taking it and adapting it to our own.
I think
you did the Crane.
Yeah, I don't mind the fact that FFG has decided to come up with proprietary dice for their games. I understand why they do it.
No, it's money.
It is money, and it's hard to make money with role-playing games.
Absolutely, it is
because you buy a book.
Yep.
I go buy this.
Yep.
Vampire 20th.
Yep.
With just that book, you could play a 10-year-long campaign and have constantly have new shit that flummoxes the players.
How many times would you buy that book?
Once. And that's the only thing you're going to have to buy to run it. Now, they make expansions with extra stuff in them and stuff like that. But in a lot of cases, you don't need that stuff. If you've got the time and you've got the creativity, you can come up with a lot of the stuff that they've come up with, right?
Right.
Hero is a perfect example. They used to come up because Hero, equipment, monsters, stuff like that. You can use the basic Hero system to build all that stuff yourself. They've gone through and built, here's the Hero bestiary that has tons of monsters.
Which if you've ever built, say an armored character in Hero, you buy those books because you're like, gosh, I just spent 4.5 hours of my life and I've only gone through, oh, God. Oh, look, here's one that's pre-built, done.
Right. But you can build, the storyteller system is simple enough where it's not difficult to come up with numbers of what you want to build a new piece of equipment or whatever. It's not hard to figure out how that stuff's going to work mechanically. But you don't. My point is, you don't need a lot past the core book if you've got the time to do all that stuff. So, for a company to go out and pay for the license for Star Wars, and and then have the books and the splat books that they've been coming out with, and it's like, you know what, we might let's make a proprietary dice because there's not much else they're going to be buying.
Right. And they can buy more of those, and you're right.
So I totally understand why
I
they
understand
do
the
it.
mechanics behind that. I totally understand the business acumen behind it. And even Steve Jackson, when we interviewed him, basically said, if you want to make money, don't make a role-playing game. Because you only buy the book once, and you have the rule set. And
How to make $1 million with a role-playing game.
You can make...
One, start with $5 million.
Right.
Two, burn $4 million of it.
You can
Succeed.
Make a light bulb that never burns out, but you're never going to make money. You're never. I mean, how do you make more light bulbs?
Oh, you make money
if you only make the one light bulb.
Well, yeah, and there's all kinds of
nobody's
theories
buying more light bulbs.
about that.
Right. Well, but that's kind of the way it is. It's like I made one book. That's all you need.
Or an iMac or an iPhone, which suddenly miraculously started getting glitchy since the
really.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? How do you do that with a book? Oh, that's right. You make new dice and that. Oh, no, it's completely wrong. All right. I just don't want it to be another 4E. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't. I mean, cursory glance. It looks like all they did is they came up with a different. They tweaked. They didn't change a lot from what I can tell, but they tweaked the dice mechanic as to use their proprietary dice.
Right, and
I can't really...
There may be some even, like, arcane business rules. I know with movies, if you don't use a property within X amount of time, it goes back up for auction and people can then, like, get it. So if you don't make a shitty Fantastic Four movie within X amount of time, you lose the rights to make those shitty Fantastic Four movies.
Sure. Yeah.
So shitty Fantastic Four movies are made just so they can keep their hands on that property.
Well, it's the same reason.
With the hope that someday they'll make
it's the same reason Spinal Tap comes up with a new album every certain number of years.
So maybe there's
they
some
have to
arcane
exercise the license
to keep control of it. So,
and some of them are good.
I'm just saying that maybe there's some other forces at play. I just really hope that. I mean, it really wasn't broken. There were some tweaks they could have made, but.
We'll see. I mean,
we'll see.
I'll read through it.
And if you're out there and you're listening, love a playtest, more than willing to try it. Maybe a one shot. Stu will GM it.
I'm sure. No, well, Zazamond
sure.
said you can't trademark RPG mechanics, but I think you can trademark copyright whatever the dice. Absolutely, I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
But game mechanics aren't copyrightable or aren't trademarkable.
And now with the 3D printing, dice are cheap to make, so you can make all the dice you want, and anything that's proprietary.
3D print the dice, because right now you can't get dice. You have to use the dice app.
So all you programmers out there, somebody get screenshots.
We're not
of those
encouraging that at all.
We're not encouraging it at all. It
all.
might be an interesting experiment to see if it actually is a.
I mean, you could, and the other thing is you could come up with a little cheat sheet because it's D6
a conversion chart,
and basically it'd say everything above a 6 is a success. Everything an 11 or 12 means this happens. I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do.
There's the dice roller app. Yeah, you could just do that.
Oh, 3D printing dice would not necessarily be mathematically balanced.
Oh, actually, you know what? At this point, because there's no dice that exist, it's better than what you don't have.
Oh, no, I don't know. An unfair die may not be better than a no die at all. Another one for you from Charis. Greetings and salutations, O great archduke douches of douchedom. It is I, Charis, one of your humble servants. I call upon you with another one of my irritating questions. This one will be about house rules and rule splicing.
Oh, I like that.
As an avid WoD and Savage Worlds fan, World of Darkness and Savage Worlds fan.
WoD is a whole different thing. Carry on. WoD. You said WoD.
I did. I've been tinkering with sometime with splicing bits and pieces of the latter into the former. So Savage Worlds into World of Darkness from the latter. One prime element from Savage Worlds I really like to fit into Vampire system is the initiative system with cards. So far, I have come up with something that looks roughly like this. Each character gets a number of cards equal to the lower of their wits or dexterity, which is what you would normally.
So now you're looking at an array of cards.
Okay, and keeps the highest plus one card for each level of celerity used for extra actions. That is cool.
Well, okay, so now I've got 3 cards.
Right, and you can those are when you act.
Okay.
Because in Savage
Well, no, wait, just wait.
This naturally leads to a bit of balance issues, since now celerity actions no longer take place at the end of the round, but may prove a fun alternative to keep track of the order of play. Excuse me. Especially with the suitable deck of cards. I'm also brainstorming an alternative using use of willpower that is a bit more similar to how bennies work, mainly by providing rerolls instead of guaranteed successes. I think that depends how stingy you are with willpower. I'm stingy with willpower.
Yeah, you are.
So having it be an automatic success is fine by me.
I got one left. I need to figure out a way to...
Well, you have to remind me when you do something that is true to your nature.
Yeah, well, all the time. I'm a loner survivor.
Did you hear the remind me part?
It's my fault that I suck at this.
It's my fault. It's your fault that I don't remember. But that's me. What about you? Do you have any favorite bit from that one system that you would like to see more, or think that would benefit another system, benefit a different system considerably? Alternatively, do you think it's heresy and submit me to the douche to be douched by flames? Take a drink. Yours sincerely, Charis. Can I have another beer?
Absolutely. Here, look. It has this handy dandy.
Ooh. 805. Is that a freeway? Is that named after a freeway?
Sure. Why not? Probably.
Is there an 805 freeway in California?
No.
You
Maybe.
sure?
No, I'm not. It's probably up north if it is. All the 8s are up there, right?
I have no idea. I don't mind doing stuff like that at all. I mean, we've added the help a player mechanic that we've added to our APs, changes for system, but it's basically introducing something like a Benny system in every game we're running. Some games just have bennies, but Vampire doesn't have them, but I give the players extra dice. It's an extra set of dice.
And for those of you who don't know, the help a player basically is if you're watching live as a listener or watcher, you can, if you have enough, is it enough beers?
Beers, you spend.
If you have enough beers, you spend. You accumulate beers or points by the amount of time that you end up watching the show, that you can
gambling.
affect. And the gambling, you can now affect the outcome of the game.
They have
absolutely affected the way combat, damage, a bunch of other things have happened during the play of our Vampire games. I think people would be dead if we didn't have a couple of help a player dice.
Or different players would be staked if they were help a player dice.
Right. So it actually is, because basically you as a watcher can now affect the game, so you're kind of helping to play the game.
The 805 is in San Diego.
Okay, there it is.
Is this a brewery in San Diego?
Firestone?
No, California Central Coast. So, well, maybe they named it after because they really like that freeway in San Diego, because that's nowhere near Central Coast.
First of all, with the celerity card thing, that's really awesome. I like the card thing, but I think it's like that quote we like to say: "What problem make when no problem have you don't want to make?" I mean, their initiative isn't broken. I mean, other than the fact that you have
why
cards,
problem make
cool,
when you no problem have you don't want to make?
Go to try to adjudicate how many cards you have and how many cards you get to go at. Is it any better than what's already going on? Is it any? It's different because now have cards, but is it any better? Have you fixed something that was wrong? Have you improved it? I don't think you really have. Now they're holding cards, so they can. I have 3 of these, so I get to go.
I don't know.
I don't know if you've improved
it. I don't know if it does or not, but I mean, if you like the way that mechanic works better, especially if your players like the way that mechanic works better.
Well, what I love about the Savage Worlds initiative mechanic is that once I figured it out, is that you have the deck passed around for each player each time you go around, so then they deal it out, and it's not the GM's responsibility to figure out who.
And the nice thing about it, there's a visual cue on the table. You don't have to write down everyone's initiative.
And nobody's mad because they all got it dealt by another player.
Right.
Completely random, and now that's their card. So it just solves all the whole, are you sure I should have gone first? All of that stuff is off the GM's shoulders. And that's what I love about that system. Plus, as you say, there is that card right there. I'm the 6 of diamonds. I'm ready to go. Here it is. But I don't think the Vampire thing needed fixing. I mean, other than the fact that if you just want to have cards.
I mean, the one system that and I've mentioned this in the past several times, I really like the way the fear mechanic works in L5R. You suffer a certain amount of fear, your character becomes less effective.
Yeah.
As your character becomes less effective, you as a player are going to make the metagame decision. I got to remove my character from the situation because I'm no longer going to have a chance against this thing.
That's not
fighting.
metagame. That's tactics.
It is, but it's
a retreat.
It's the player making a tactical decision
yes.
that is emulating a character deciding to run away because he's too shaken by what he's seen.
Absolutely.
And that's
when you're outclassed.
I think
there's a mechanic to it as opposed to just you as a player deciding.
It's a great confluence of narrative and mechanics.
Yes.
Because the mechanics have their concrete effect that informs the narrative.
Right.
And I love that about that mechanic, and I wish it was easier to come up with those kinds of mechanics.
And that mechanic specifically is important because most players will fight to the death.
Sure.
Tooth and nail. They will hang on to the last thing, and then they're mad at you for killing the character.
Until you start taking
you
dice
could have
roll
run
penalties.
away, dude. You could have retreated. I never retreat. I'm a bard. I never retreat.
I'm a mighty warrior. I never retreat.
Or I'm not a mighty warrior, but I think I am. Or whatever it is. Never retreat.
But when they tell you, oh, by the way, you're going to be at -20 to all your rolls from now on. Oh fuck.
Now they're like, okay, so the mechanical. All right, so the best thing to do is leave, right?
Right.
Yes. It takes the onus off their pride, I guess. And you're right. That is a great mechanic.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, and that's something that I would like to figure out a way to add to other games.
I actually really like the Savage World chase rules. I thought they have a very elegant chase system, which is, I can't sum it up right now, but I liked it. I liked it a lot, and because there's not many games that actually even give you rules for chasing.
Right.
How do you?
It's just a matter of math and calculating moves and seeing, well, who is the guy going to get away or not?
Right.
Because if his move is 7 and my move is 6,
but
he's going to get away.
What do you do in D&D? There's no chase rules.
No.
there's no retreat.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You just keep shifting the map.
Just adjudicate it, yeah.
Okay, how he's now 30 squares away. You're going to keep, no.
And that's something that you can introduce without breaking a system.
Cloak72 said that Sergito is going to be running a session of the new L5R beta tomorrow on Discord around 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So,
excellent. Sergito, one of our diehard listeners.
Yep.
He's been around since the beginning.
I believe he has, or very close to the beginning.
Do you have a favorite bit from one of the systems you would like to see more? I'm sure GURPS. I love subtractive armor. That's something I really love. I love with Traveler. It makes everything so much easier. It's like you have armor that's worth 2 or 3. You do 4 points of damage. The armor takes away 3. You have 1 point of damage. That's just done, solved, and it solves everything. I love that.
I kind of like Storyteller's mechanic better because armor adds to your soak roll. So there's still a chance. I mean, if I'm using a weapon that does 1d6 damage, let's say I'm shooting an arrow at you, and you're wearing armor that has a DR of 6, I will never do a point of damage to you. Ever.
No.
But there's still that oddball chance that one might, slip past the pauldron into your shoulder or go through the slit in your helmet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so if you have a soak roll, it slows the game down.
You can.
But if you have a soak roll, it says, okay, yes, you get extra dice to your soak roll because you're wearing armor.
Right.
So you're more likely to soak all of the damage of the arrow. But there's a chance if you get a shitty roll that you won't. So
right.
I think that's kind of a personally, I think that's kind of a better in between, sort of.
The other alternative is if you have the soak. Well, if you have the subtractive armor, but then the armor takes damage too. I think this is Rune Quest, Dragon Quest, one of the quests back in the day, which is your armor had a certain amount of damage it could take before it failed.
Right.
So it was one more level of bookkeeping, but as awesome as that sounds, it was just harder and harder to play. It's like, oh wait, I've been attacked 14 times, haven't made it back to town, my armor's useless.
Right.
Not fun.
Yes. All right. See, how to promote a game. Julie in Connecticut.
It's your turn.
Oh. Hello, Stu and the Douchebag Commandos. I am a long-time listener. I did read that.
No, you're right. It's my turn. Hello, Stu and the Douchebag Commandos. I'm a long-time listener going back several years. I hope that you and all can discuss this on the air and provide some thoughts. I recently started running games at the local comic book shop, and I'm having a difficult time getting people to come.
To the game.
To the game.
We're 14.
All of the games are being promoted as episodic. Light rules, friendly to new players, and all materials are provided. I've chosen settings that should appeal to the patrons of the store: a superhero-themed game, a multiverse-hopping Rick and Morty style game, and a bureau of paranormal research and defense game. They are scheduled for Saturday afternoons. I've promoted them on my Facebook page, invited people with my friends list who I think would appeal to. The comic book store is likewise promoted via their Facebook page, creates the official event. What usually happens is 12 to 20 people sign up as interested in the game, and when the day comes, I only have 1 or 2 players, and who I specifically bring with me.
Oh, that sucks.
How do I convert the interested players into actual players? Thanks for your help and the years of good advice, CT. You know what? If you could figure that out, the entire gaming world will be indebted to you. There is a, let's call it a flake factor involved with a lot of gamers, and then there maybe it's they have fear of commitment, maybe they overschedule, maybe they just I just like to think they flake, they forget, they sign up, oh, this sounds cool, I'll do that, and then they just completely forget that they did that. And I'm not going to make excuses for them, but a lot of gamers I know are flakes. It happens a lot.
I thought about this question a little bit, and I was trying to come up with what are ways that you can kind of get people to have more skin in the game when all they've really had to do is like tear off the little tab at the bottom of a, like the
players wanted.
Have you seen this dog?
Yeah,
yes, I have. Right.
Yes, right.
How can you convert that to more interest? And I think there are some ways you can do it. None of them are guaranteed.
No.
One of the things that I think would kind of be interesting would be to say, okay, put up a flyer at your local gaming store, wherever it is. This is a gaming store. Where she's
comic book.
Comic book store. Okay. Put up a flyer at the comic book store, and behind the flyer, tape the 5 or 6 pre-generated characters you're going to run for the game.
Ooh.
If you would like to be in this game, put your name here with your phone number, and pick which character you want and take it with you, and you can look at it and bring it with you when the game starts. Now, is that
or even have a URL so that they can the thief and they can go check it out.
Let them take the
right.
physical character sheet with them, because that might act as a reminder. And maybe on the character sheet is, here's the time and day and the address when the game is going to be. And now, are you going to get all those players? No. But you're probably going to get more, because when you give someone something, there's more. They feel more compelled to. It's Coldplay is getting loud. Huh?
Yeah, it is.
There's a Coldplay concert going on right now at the
Rose Bowl, right.
Which is like a mile from here.
Parking was a nightmare, by the way.
I bet, but that's gonna. You always just park my driveway.
Now you tell me.
But if you give the players something, they're going to feel a little more compelled to follow through on their commitment.
Well, hopefully,
not always, but a little more.
Right.
So, if you were to either say, if you're interested in this game, below here is a little tear sheet of the synopsis of the game and a rule summary of the game that we're going to be playing, something that they can take with them. Give them a little physical something. Now, obviously, that's a lot more work for you.
Yeah.
Does it work? Have I tried it? No. It's just these are things that I just thought of that I think would be helpful.
Here was my original thought, which is, gamer folk are kind of shy folk. They're
sure.
kind of awkward folk.
And walking into anything where you're
cold
and you don't know anyone is always difficult to do. It's always for everyone. It's difficult to do, except for those very tiny few people who are actually people persons. They're usually not gamers
or narcissists. And they just figure, everybody likes
everyone loves me.
Right? Why not? I wonder if some of the people that signed up showed up, but were too timid to jump in. I wonder if you had, say, 4 ringers, and you started playing with them and just got these games going, if they showed up and like, hey, I signed up for your game, if it was more than just 2 people sitting around awkwardly trying to get a game to go, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm wondering if the game was going, and it looked functional, it looked good, it looked fun, the people that signed up, and maybe they did show up. Maybe they were like hanging out, looking out to see if it was safe. If it was going, maybe they would jump in. Maybe they say, hey, yeah, I signed up. I'm wondering if you should just show up, play games with your friends. Anybody who wants to join,
that's what she's doing. I think the goal is she's trying to find more players.
I get it. Yeah. I get it.
Vampire 54 said if the comic shop is on board, they can have the sheets at the counter to hand out to interested players.
Sure,
that's true. You might also be able to talk to the comic book shop. I mean, and you never know unless you ask. Maybe like people who played in this game can get a coupon for 5% off their next purchase.
Sure. The other thing is, people don't want to look dumb. Maybe they're gaming curious. They've never played a game, but they don't want to feel like fools. Perhaps maybe even just running a demonstration or 2, have it supported by the company. Maybe 5 of your friends show up and you guys run Mouse Guard or something, and people can show up and they can watch it, and from there it could spiral up. But to ask people to just show up sometimes can be it's really scary. I've done this before. I've walked into the shop. I've looked at the names. I'm like looking at like, all right, this guy's asking for a game. And you show up and, hey, are you Wayne? Yeah. All right. I signed up for your game. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Instead of putting up a flyer, put up a sign-up sheet or ask for their email. Maybe not their phone number, but ask for an email.
I think that there's this. It's almost like a dating thing. It's almost like a Tinder thing. It's almost like you need to get to know these people. You can't just expect people to blind shop. There's a handful of people that are brave enough to do that.
But you'll always go on.
I'm not.
You'll always go on one date.
Well, okay.
You'll always go on the one date.
But here's the thing. Sorry. Okay. Here's your $1 million idea, everybody. You need to set up a gaming app that's set up like Tinder.
There's tons of those.
What?
Not like they're not like Tinder. They're not like Tinder. But there's nearbygamers.com or .net. There's several sites that try to help connect people who are trying to play.
I knew it was $1 million idea. Somebody already had it.
I don't think anyone's made $1 million.
The first guy did.
I bet you no one made $1 million on it. Gamers are intrinsically cheap. They'll never play for. Never pay for it.
I think the barrier of entry is, other than the fact that they're being flakes, and that there is a lot of that going on, is that they don't want to. It's scary. That's all. I know you're not a scary person, but it's scary to just show up to a group of people you don't know and put yourself out there. And I think a lot of people have trouble with that. And it's not you. It's not you. It's me.
It's not you. It's them.
It's not you. It's them.
It really is, because it is. It's hard. I mean, you think about what gets you to willing to show up to something like that. I mean, anyone who's interested in doing that. I mean, like me, if I went in and I saw a bulletin board saying, "Hey, we're going to be playing a role-playing game here at the Game Empire on Tuesdays," it's like, I'm already in 3 games.
Yeah.
Right. So it wouldn't work for me. But if someone can't find a game, isn't in a group right now, and wants to play something, or especially if it's something specific or whatever. And they look and they say, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to play that." But what's going to get them? What's that thing that's going to get them to get past the awkwardness of being around and sitting down with a group of people that they don't know any of them?
Yeah.
And it's going to have it's going to have to be something that compels them to do that.
That's exactly what
gets them past that. And the only thing you can do is just be as friendly and open as possible. The other thing that I might suggest at your game shop or your comic book store, I hate to say this because. Let's see.
It's comic book store.
Let's see. We've got multiverse hopping Rick and Morty style game, Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense game, superhero themed game. Gosh, I don't see D&D. Sorry, that's the other thing. D&D. There's a reason when we did the Elder Me game in 5th edition D&D, it was very well received and listened to.
And that's the other thing is that people might have played D&D and never played Champions, or Savage Worlds, and they might feel very comfortable with a D&D game. Like, it's D&D. I know D&D.
Right.
I can do that without looking the fool.
And you're trying to promote other games, but maybe to get those people in, you need to start with hamburgers and French fries,
and again,
and then move on to the.
And again, that strengthens my point, which is do some exhibition games, do some one shots with you and your friends at that comic book store where maybe invite people can hang out and watch you play a Champions game, watch you play.
I don't know if people will do that.
Regardless,
they're going to go online and watch that. I think.
It's possible, but put that out there because then people get to know you, get to know the style, get to know what the game is. They won't feel like they're completely. I'm not saying this is going to work. I mean, we're trying to.
Well, these are all just ideas.
Yes, but I think that if you were to prove to people that you're a good GM, you have an interesting game system. Maybe they're not familiar with it. Take a chance, but you can prove to them with sort of an exhibition game or so, and just run 2 or 3 one shots of a little mini con at the comic book store with you and your friends.
Diabolic Wombat just brought up an amazing point that just gave me an even more specific idea. On the day of the game, make sure that you have a sign with something that tells strangers you should be here with us.
Oh, yeah.
Don't make them have to interrupt or ask if they're in the right place.
Right.
Here's what you can do. Set up your table for 6 players. Set character sheets out for 6 players. Set dice out for 6 players. And then fold a piece of paper and said, this seat is empty. If you would like to play, please sit down. You don't have to ask.
Right.
And then hang those on the empty chairs, and then people can if they, who knows, it might work, it might not,
it may not,
but it's worth trying. But and he brings up a very good point. When people are in the middle of a game, other gamers know game etiquette. Right. You don't want to interrupt when someone's in the middle of a game.
You will watch, but you're very polite and you stand back and you listen and you watch. And at some point you want to interject, but you don't feel like you're welcome. It's like, dude, I think you should attack the cobalt. Oh, sorry, not my game.
I don't want to kibitz.
Don't want to kibitz.
And people think they're intruding if they walk up to a table, even if there's a bunch of empty seats, and they say, "Can I play?" No one would ever do that. If you're an hour into a con game and there's 3 people sitting at a table, you're not going to walk up and ask if you can join.
No,
it's impolite.
Yes.
So what you do instead is you set the empty spots and just put a sign on the back of the chair that says, if you would like to play, please sit down. You don't need to ask.
Yeah.
Period.
Done. Done. That's it. Solution. That's it. I love that. In fact, I'm going to go try that. That's awesome.
I'm going to try that for dates.
If you would like, just put a sign up on your belly. If you would like to sit down.
I'll do a tattoo on my gut. Because chicks love gut tattoos.
If you can read this, you're too close. I have no absolute solutions for this. I think that I love the fact that you really want more gamers. I love the fact that you want to spread this game, the joy of gaming. There's a book in there somewhere. The joy of gaming. Yeah. But man, gamers are fickle folk, and they're shy and they're scary, and some of them are weird. And
that's okay. And you're trying to get people in here. You're trying to promote the hobby, and God bless you for doing it.
I can't give you a list of solutions for all of the weird and troubled and just broken toys that are out there. Gamers as well.
Yep.
It's hard. It's difficult. But perhaps I really like the whole chair thing. Yeah. I like that.
Diabolic Wombat. Good on you. That's the idea of the week.
Some exhibition games so that people realize you're not just a douchebag, or at least get a passing idea of what the. And I bet you'd be surprised. People that show up on the auspices of picking up the new Mr. Miracle comic books, they'll hang out for an hour, watch your game, and then 3 or 4 weeks later they'll show up and want to play. And you'll be like, "Hi, who are you?" "Well, I came by. You were playing. It seemed like fun." But it may take them that long to come up with. The
other thing you might want to do is, go to Staples and buy a pack of business cards. The printable business cards.
Who reads business cards anymore?
No, but here's and print them up with the Saturday Afternoon Gaming Commission, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Okay.
And say, here's where we meet. We meet every Saturday at 2:00, and maybe on the back of it put a little schedule for the next month or 2 months. We're going to play this on this Saturday, this on this Saturday, this on this Saturday. If you have a URL, put the URL on it. And when you go into the store and when you're getting ready to start the game, hand them out to people. When you go in to promote the game, hand them out to people. Tape them onto the bottom of your "Have you seen this dog?" sign. Yes, I have.
If somebody hands me a card I usually throw them away.
Sure. Well, no, I've kept some. If it's something I'm really interested in.
I don't know.
I don't have my wallet on me.
You know what? If you could come up with
coasters,
with coasters, this is the best idea ever. Basically, you make a coaster. They say, oh, it's a business card. It's got all the info you want on it, and then they put it down and they're
this is labor of love.
and then they look at them and they're there all the time. I mean, the coasters are wonderful, but I get it. I know what you're saying.
Right, but if you're going to spend money and you're putting on Facebook, by the way, you can target your ads on Facebook with laser-like precision. You can say, I only want this ad to be seen by people who are interested in these things, who live in this area. Because obviously this is a local gaming store.
Facebook with lasers on its nose.
Right. You can. But, I mean, you can. I've done that when we have gigs, and I do a paid or what they call it, a promoted post on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it'll say, I want people who have liked the Poxy Boggards page and friends of people who've liked the Poxy Boggards page who live within 50 miles of this address, which happens to be where the gig's going to be.
Right.
And it helps.
Helps. If you get 4 or 5 people,
but of course that costs money.
Yep.
So, and that may not be in the budget.
No matter what you do, nothing's going to make up for sloth and flake. If people are slothful, people are flaky. And I'm so sloth is it's pretty much the deadly sin that I am most guilty of. I'm like a stork at rest tends to be at rest, and a stork in motion tends to be getting a beer. I mean that's my MO. That's the way I am, and I get it. I mean, there's a lot of gamers who are like, oh yeah, I signed up, but you know, I'm just there's a Firefly marathon on, and they're not going to get up and go. I cannot. There is no solution for that. And we have it in actual games too. People just flake on games sometimes. They come up with excuses or whatever. But even though, and here's the thing: once a game gets running, Stu has a schedule, and he posts it weeks or months in advance, so people know, and they can clear their calendar
every other Saturday or every other Wednesday or whenever the games. We're doing all of our games that way right now.
So once you get a game that's up and running, make sure you set up a schedule so that people can clear it, so they don't have the excuse like, oh man, I didn't know, you changed it. It's like, it was on the calendar. You've known for 2 months the game is coming up on this time at this date. But that's only if you get a game up and running. You can't fight slack. You can't fight sloth.
You can. You can't. You
can rail against it.
I actually think having a sign on the back of the empty chairs is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I like that.
If you're interested in playing this game, please sit down right now.
Right
now.
Right
don't
now.
Turn around.
Nope.
Don't sit there and linger. You a-hole, sit your ass down. Right now.
And
then what you hear.
As a GM, you could just do that. You're like, do you want to play? Sit down right here, right now. Everybody.
Yeah.
Right, here's some water.
Just
here's
like
some complimentary water.
Hi, my name's Bob. I'm a gamer. Hi, Bob. And give them some applause.
That's right. You are playing. Sorry, you can't roll your own character. We're in the middle of combat. You are playing the thief, and you've just shown up. What do? There you go. I have 2 characters here. You have a ranger and a thief. Pick one. A ranger. There you go. You are, what's your name? Algeron. Great. You've just shown up. What do you do?
Right. Excellent.
I like that. I like that a lot.
All right. That's it. That's all we got.
Hopefully it works. Hey, email us back and let us know if this shit works, because I want to know too. I really do.
And thank you for doing something to promote the hobby. That's awesome.
Totally.
That's it. Let's see. Sunday we got Moat. Monday, I believe, is Tomorrow Legion.
Yeah, Moat. And Monday. It's Tomorrow Legion.
I believe Tomorrow Legion is Monday.
Okay. Tomorrow Legion.
And then I think I don't know what's on Wednesday. Max Game starts, but I don't know if it starts this next week. It might start this coming week.
Things are in flux. Check the schedule that's on our webpage.
HappyJacks.org/schedule.
That's what I do, because things have changed a bit. We have a lot of new games. We have a lot of games that are sunsetting. We have games that were only for a limited amount of time. Please just double check and keep checking. The schedule, if we change games, it should be reflected in the schedule very soon. We're expanding our games. What are we running now? 6 separate games? You're running 2.
I'm running
2.5.
I'm running 1.5.
And playing in 1.
I'm co-GMing Dead Rain, and I'm running Moat.
How many games total are we running? 6?
There's 6.
There's 6.
Well, there will be 6 once everything's running. Mode of Sin, Dead Rain, brought to you by PalladiumBooks.com. Interpol X, The Spaniard's Ghost.
Okay, Spaniard's Ghost is Savage Worlds. Interpol X is
Power of the Apocalypse. It's Monster of the Week.
Okay.
And then Tomorrow Legion, which is Savage Worlds Rifts, And what's the other Monday game? Oh, no, one of those is the Monday game.
One of them is
and then Mac's game, which is going to be an Old West werewolf game using Werewolf 20, W20.
Right, and if you're not part of the forums, she's taking all sorts of, I don't want to say advice, but she's open to it. There's a whole section in there where you can talk
She's
to her.
going to do what she wants.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
She's pretty much.
I have not known Mac for very long, but she's going to do what she wants to do.
Yeah, and she's even said, "Hello, guys. I'm going to do whatever I want." But it's fun to see her response. Yeah, the thing about the Happy Jacks community is that what's wonderful is that everybody has input on the games that we're playing, and even while we're playing, I love that. It's a lot of fun. If you're not a member of the forums, please jump in. It's a mostly safe place. We've got rid of most of the douchebags.
Yeah,
except for you,
except for me, and other hosts who, for some reason, it seems ironic to have to kick all them out.
But there's a lot going on in the forums that you're not aware of, and there's a lot of gaming decisions that get made.
Yeah, and there's also a couple online games running on there right now. I think Sergito's running I was running an L5R game, and Proby Tim is running a vampire game.
And
is it vampire?
And then there's always JackerCon as well.
And JackerCon.
It costs nothing to sign up. Do it. I recommend it.
Mission. They're asking about Mission Unbartable. We should start using some Saturdays, afternoons, or evenings.
I'm available almost all the time.
Talk to Dave.
It's up to Dave. Yeah. It's up to Dave. Mission Unbartable is a one-shot that I did for the
Stork should run Spirit to 77.
Means they'd have to actually learn the rule set. Nah.
Maybe we could just have Dave sit in the corner. Stork, do this. Oh yeah.
It'll be good. I'll start, and then 5 minutes later, Dave will be in there with his hat, and he'll be telling me, and then I'll just leave and get a beer. It'll be awesome. Yeah, let's do that. It'll be perfect. The thing about Mission Impossible is, I could run it by myself. Dave could run it by himself as well, but I think the two of us together make a better. It's just,
and we're set up to run to go GM. So you squeeze over here.
You're good GMing with Dave. How much fun is that?
Oh, it's easy,
isn't it?
It's easy. Yeah.
He's like,
mostly when I'm in the Dead Rain game. Mostly what I'm doing is I'll sit out here at night and open up OneNote and start like here's an NPC, here's a plot hook,
vomiting ideas, right?
And Dave he assumed that I had done this myself. He took like 3 or 4 disparate things and put them together and was like, "Oh, that's an amazing meta plot you've woven together." I'm like, "What?
What? Huh?" That's what he does for me too.
And he's like, says, "Oh yeah, the overall plot." I'm like, "There's an overall plot."
That's what he does for me too. It's awesome. He thinks I over prep, but basically I just come up with a bunch of shit and he puts it together. It's amazing. And plus,
but that's how I run games anyway.
He's one of the funniest guys I've known.
Yes, he is.
He's
but
so awesome.
That's how I run games anyway. Cause like for the vampire game, it's like I'm going to say, okay, next session. Here's 5 things that could happen. And then when we get here and the players start moving, we say, which one of these 5 things I think might fit in here?
In the interest of co-GMing, it's nice to have somebody that has a soundboard. You know, you just bounce stuff off them, and they come and they bounce back this stuff, and you're like, I never thought about that.
Right.
And some of the pressure's taken off you. You're like, yeah. And you know what? How cool is that?
And the nice thing with the Dead Ring game is Dave has been playing Palladium games for a long time. That's what he started with. He started with those.
Yep.
And actually, he and Hosier Rob and Clockwork. Were all in the same gaming group when they were all youngins.
Yep.
And that's what they started with was Rifts.
Yep.
So they all know the system
backwards and
perfectly well. So, all right. I think that's about it. It's 9:37, so we've done about 90 minutes. So
you got your money's worth.
As far as you know. Where's my right page? There it is.
Oh, and keep writing in, please. You guys don't write in, we don't have a show.
What?
Keep writing in. More letters.
Yeah, keep writing in.
We're listeners of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast.
Thank you very much for joining us for Season 20, Episode 8 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm Stork.
And we'll see you next Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, happyjacks.org/live. Join us then. And again, I'd like to thank PalladiumBooks.com for supporting Dead Rain. Fight with the courage.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week. And until then, we will leave you with a song.
Dungeons and Dragons, hero Pathfinder, fatal savage lands, evil plans will be 'tis not fit that red should be, 'tis not fit that red should be. In competition set, competition, who can drink more? Who can drink 10 times more than he? Can drink 10 times more than he? Who can drink 10 times more? Drink 10 times more than he?
Make a new world,
Make
power, divine world, start
make
with nothing else but one.
a new world,
Power divine, a world,
make a new
world, start with nothing else but one.
Make a new world, ye powers,
with nothing else but wine. A new world, start with nothing else but wine.
Let wine be earth and air,
Let wine be earth, let wine be earth and air, let wine be earth and
earth there
let that wine and let that wine be all for me, and let that wine be all for me.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.